Here we go. Your names with a Scottish twist. We've got Moth, Maddox, Birdie, Bear, Amelia, Michael, Shiloh, Bellamy, Lavender, Runa, Isaiah, Ellis, Elsie, Everly, Amelia, and Abriana. Say in Scottish, that might be different from what you say. So for example, instead of yes, we say I. Instead of no, we say either no or we say no sometimes as well. Your bahookie is your backside. If something is bra, like a bra day, it means it's a nice day. It can also mean great. If something's bra, it can be great as well. Then we like to currien or currydoon, which basically means to kind of huddle or cuddle maybe in front of the fire where it's nice and warm with like a big fancy throw or something like that keeps you warm, and it just means to snuggle in or cuddle in. That's to currien or to currydoon. And if you go for a dip in the water, then you take a duk. So you can also just say something like dip your horn in the water and see if it's cold, meaning like dip your hand in the water and see if the water's cold. And on Hogmanay, which is the 31st of December, like New Year, on the 1st really, crazy people outside Edinburgh, they do the Looney Duk, and it basically means the crazy people's dip. So that means people go and swim in the sea or dip in the sea, and it's freezing cold and horrible, and the people are insane. If you get yourself in a tangle or getting yourself confused, you're in a fankle. It just means you're confused or you're somehow got tangled up with something. Your oxter is your armpit, and instead of sandwich, we say piece. So you take your piece for your lunch, or you eat your piece for your lunch. You get a chili piece, which is basically a jam sandwich. Yeah, that's what we say. If you're really pale or a bit sickly looking, a bit off colour, you're peely wally, which just means you're really pale. A lot of Scottish people are peely wally. There's not that much sun, so they're all pretty white and pretty pale. If something's wobbly or shaky, then you say it's shugly or it shuggles. So you can also say, like, if the manager of your football team's not doing really well and he might get the sack soon, then you say his coat's on a shuggly peg, and it just means that he's likely to get sacked soon because he's in a wobbly position, in a shaky position. And if you're very clever or sly, you're sleeking. And if you're asking for silence or for someone to be quiet, you say wheesht or hod your wheesht, and it just means be quiet. Here are a few facts about Scotland. So Scotland is part of the United Kingdom and is at the northern end of these isles. It is also situated in Europe. Our border is shared with England, and being part of an island, the rest of our country is surrounded by water. The capital city is Edinburgh, and the largest city is Glasgow. Our population is 5.4 million. The size of Scotland is 80,077 square kilometres. The tallest mountain is Ben Nevis, and it is also the tallest mountain in the United Kingdom. In Scotland, mountains over 3,000 feet are called Munros. If you travel north to the Highlands, you might see some of Scotland's famous Highland coos. These are Highland cows. We have 3 languages. The first is English, the most spoken language. The second is Scots. Scots is a language in its own right. However, you won't find people speaking Scots on its own, but you will be able to hear some Scots words in the different dialects spoken throughout Scotland. The last language, Gaelic, is currently going through a resurgence, and people are learning what was deemed to be a dead language again. Gaelic is mainly spoken in the very northern parts of Scotland and on the islands. There are many different accents around Scotland. It can make it tricky to understand what is being said. In the west, people tend to speak very fast. In the east, they speak more slowly but with a stronger accent. In the south, as they are closer to the border, it is easier to understand what is being said, and in the north, they speak with a lilt to their voices. This is almost like a sing-song voice, and it is very easy to have a conversation. Our currency is the British pound sterling, but we have got our own notes, our own Scottish banknotes. The weather in Scotland is unpredictable. That is so true. It can be sunny, snowing, rainy and windy all in one day. This makes it a colder country than many others in Europe. Our politics. Scotland is a country in its own right, as it has a devolved government. However, it is not an independent country. Being a devolved parliament, Scotland can make laws on some issues such as health, housing, education and crime. There are 129 members of the Scottish Parliament, they're called MSPs, and they debate and vote on these laws for the Scottish people. The Scottish Parliament is located in Edinburgh at Holyrood. Other issues, such as whether Scotland can go to war, is decided by members of Parliament, those are MPs, at Westminster in London, so that's in England. These are called reserved issues. Scotland, because we are part of the United Kingdom, has a monarch, which is now King Charles. And she, as in Queen Elizabeth, and now King Charles, they have their own residence up here in Scotland, which is Balmoral in Royal Leaside, and they usually spend their summers here. Things that Scotland is famous for. Kilts. This is the traditional costume of Scotland, or I would maybe say the traditional dress. Made from wool, it can be a bit itchy to wear, and on a hot day you will be very warm. They are different patterns and colours, which are called tartan. Each tartan is unique to a clan or a family of Scotland. You might have a surname which originated in Scotland, such as MacDonald or Campbell. These are clans, and both have their own tartan, which members of the clan wear to various events. Both men and women wear kilts. Men mostly wear kilts to rugby matches when Scotland is playing, or to weddings. Also to the football when Scotland's playing. That's soccer to you guys. Women wear kilts to compete in the Highland dancing. We've also got the bagpipes. This is a musical instrument which you either enjoy the sound of or hate. There's some fun facts about bagpipes. Until 1996, bagpipes were considered a weapon of war. They were played as armies marched out to the battle, and often the opposing armies had never heard such a noise and they were frightened by them. Nowadays, you can hear this musical instrument on the streets of Edinburgh as entertainment for the tourists. They are also played at weddings, important events, and there is even an international pipe band competition where pipe bands from all over the world come together and compete to win this trophy. Harry Potter. Yes, the Harry Potter books were written by J.K. Rowling in Edinburgh. They take their inspiration from many areas in Edinburgh, and even though Harry left for Hogwarts from King's Cross Station in London, Hogwarts School was situated in Scotland. The filming of Harry Potter from the third film onwards was on location in famous Scottish places which include Glencoe, Fort William, Glen Nevis and Loch Morar. There is not a Scottish town or city which doesn't have a wee bit of Harry Potter memorabilia in a shop somewhere. You can even take a trip on the Hogwarts Express from Fort William across the famous Glenfinnan Viaduct and then onwards to Malake. Haggis. This is a food, not an animal. You may hear people joking that they are off haggis hunting, but there is no such wee furry animal. Haggis is made from the heart, liver and lungs of a sheep, minced with onion, oatmeal, suet, spices and salt, and traditionally boiled in the animal's stomach for approximately an hour. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Don't worry, you can get a vegetarian haggis as well. It is just as tasty, but with no animal parts in it. If you study Scottish poets at school, you will have heard of Rabbie Burns. He wrote a poem called An Address to a Haggis. This is recited every year on Burns Night, where the haggis is brought into the room with bagpipes playing, and then someone will say the poem, and the haggis is then cut open with a huge sword. We take our traditions very seriously in Scotland. The Loch Ness Monster. This mythological monster resides in Loch Ness near Inverness. This isn't the largest or the deepest loch in Scotland, but it does contain the most water. It contains more water than all of the lakes in England and Wales combined. Plenty areas for the monster to hide in. The water is a dark colour due to the peat that is washed down from the surrounding mountains. The tale of Nessie has been around since 565 AD, making it a very old myth, but the first sighting was, apparently, in 1933. Since then, there have been various sightings of the monster, but no one is sure that she is really there. If you want to explore yourself, Google Street View lets you view the area above and below the water, so you can see where you can spot her. Also, Scotland is quite famous for lots of inventors. For example, John Logie Baird created the world's first TV picture, while Scotsman Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in Boston. These inventions have paved the way for modern technology as we now know it. So that's it. I just thought I'd give you a wee bit of information and a few fun facts about Scotland. Thanks. Bye, guys.